This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend of the great state of Missouri, Corrie Lopez, who is the principal of Training Center Christian School in Garden City, Missouri. And I got connected with her probably a little over a month ago, heard about what their school is doing and how unique their school is. And I was like, well, we got to share this story because one of the things I like to do is to bring all of our listeners different ways that people are doing education, specifically in the U.S. I know we've had some international every once in a while in there, but mainly in the U.S. of like, hey, there's not just one way to do this. There's multiple ways that you can do this. And that is exactly kind of what we're going to dive into today. But before we jump into all that, I always pass it off to guests to introduce themselves. So Corrie, welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. I am the principal of Training Center Christian School. It was founded in 1982 by my parents and a couple of people that caught the vision. And so we've been running for that long. And we are, like you said, we're a charitable organization. We want to keep our tuition low. And so our teachers, our staff is not paid. And so everybody that comes and works for the training center is volunteer. Because they're passionate about Christian education. So, man,
that's incredible. Well, I can't wait to dive into how that it's made possible, how you find the teachers and students and all that. But before we jump into that, I always ask everybody the same question specific to your city and state. So this will be a fun one, especially if you haven't listened to any podcast episodes to know that this is what you're asked right now. But if I was to visit you in Garden City, Missouri, what would you say, Mitchell, you need to eat this and do this to experience Garden City, Missouri?
Well, we only have about 1,500 people in our community. So, we have 2 Mexican restaurants and that's about it. I mean, you can visit we do have, one other restaurant, and I guess you could visit the school, but we don't have any stoplights or anything like that. So, just driving around town and seeing our little community. So, all
right, let me get some Mexican food and go drive around, look at the school, check it out. I love it. Perfect. Yeah. Well, as we dive in today, I know you mentioned the uniqueness of the school. So has this been what it's been like since day one? There has been, hey, we're not paying staff. It's going to be volunteer only. We're going to charge as minimum possible, or maybe no fee at all. I don't know what that looks like for tuition, but has that been since day one?
Since day one. My father graduated from high school not knowing how to read. Actually, they graduated him early because I think he was a problem. And so they just wanted to get him out of school. And so he graduated. He was not a Christian at the time. My mother was very into school. School was kind of her safe place from, what was going on at home. And so she loved education. She loved to read. So they were very polar opposites in the education system. But when my dad got saved, he felt called to the ministry to be a pastor, but he couldn't read. And so he sat down with a Bible and a tape recorder, and he listened to the Bible and taught himself how to read according to what he heard and read. And so once he became a pastor and we moved to this little town, his vision was for Christian kids to be able to come and get a Christian education at an affordable price. And so my dad is one of those, he's not afraid to ask. He just is out there, and his whole life has been, if he wants something done, he goes and asks everybody. And so we had a woman at our church that was actually working at the local public school, and he went to her and he was like, hey, we want to start a Christian school. Will you be on board? And she very graciously said, sure. And so he and her and my mom and a couple of other moms, basically it was just one of those things that it was all moms that had kids that wanted to start a Christian school, and they were willing to come and work and put the school together. And so they began to tour other Christian schools. They went to Florida and visited 𝒂𝒃 down in Florida because that's where we get all of our everything that we teach at the training center. And so in 1982, we opened the doors. We had 15 students. We had a couple moms. And I think originally the goal was to educate the students of the parents, and then we would be done. Well, it didn't work that way, because here we are 40 some years later, still with our doors open. We still have a small school, but we still now have on a normal day between 12 and 14 volunteer staff people that come in and facilitate school. We are books and we are pencil and paper. We are we call ourselves an old-fashioned charitable Christian school, because our kids learn by paper and pencil. Now, of course, we have media classes and things like that, but they still use books and things like that. So the further along we get, the more unique it is, because we do use books and paper and things like that. But it's been a wild ride, just watching God provide every year. When one would step out, someone would come back in. And so now we're getting to where we're seeing, like, I am a child that came back and became part of the organization. Now my daughter is married and she is back helping the organization. So it's kind of a generational thing as well. So
That's awesome. Well, I would love to know, what's the lowest amount of students you've had over the last 40 years, if you can remember, if you even know what that number is, and what's the most the school has had at any given time during the year?
About probably 15 was the lowest the first year that we've had. And that was K-12. It was just us. And then we've probably had upwards of probably 80 is the highest, between 80 and 90. We have right now about 40. And that's K all the way to 12. So it varies from year to year. Those years that we had lots of people, we actually had very large families that had kids in school. So, but yeah, I mean, it fluctuates, but.
And then you guys do charge a tuition, or is it free for the students to come?
If for staff members, tuition is free. So that's kind of, if you make any payment, that would be what it is. But if staff members, their children go to school free. But if your child goes to school, our tuition is $250 a month. And then it is a downsliding, like $200 for the second, $150 for the third. And we also have a great work program for our parents. If they can't afford the tuition, because we partner with our church, we have church work. Some of our parents come in and do full-time ministry for their tuition. If they have full-time jobs, then they do. Like, we have one mom that does children's church and nursery for her tuition. And we have another set of parents that do their nursery on the other days for part of their tuition. Plus we have sports, and we have like snack bars where they can come and do that. We always offer, because the thing about it is that we always want to give them a chance to be able to make that money. We never want to turn someone away based on money. Yeah. There's always an opportunity.
Is there a reason you landed on 250? Like, is that, since obviously you're not paying staff, like, where's that number coming from for you guys to decide what you charge, and then where does that money go?
Well, like, for instance, our electricity bill is about $1,200 a month. And so what happens is the tuition just goes to pay the water and the light bill, those kind of things that just keep the doors open. Now, we have a lot of students that are staff members. So on those years, of students of staff, on those years when it's pretty slim, we have a congregation that takes up the slack, and they pay for that. But, we have things like, for instance, we have a basketball team. And so basketball referees, run almost $400 for a night of games. And so that extra money, that money that's made goes to the essentials of of the organization. So,
okay. Is the goal to stick with that, going forward, like, hey, we're going to, maybe the next year it's $300 or whatever.
No, actually, it was under duress that we went to 250. We actually were 150. We were 100 for probably 15, 20 years. Then we went up a little bit, and our treasurer came to us 2 years ago and said, it's not sustainable. What we're doing is not sustainable. And so we're going to have to charge a little bit more. And my mother, who's the administrator, did not like that at all. but the thing about it is we do give parents, all of our parents that were there before were grandfathered in. So they don't pay that. They pay what the tuition was before. And incoming parents, as I said, are always given opportunities if they can't meet that they can work it off.
Okay.
So
I know you mentioned you guys are in a small town. Is there a lot of jobs in that area, or are people commuting out? Like, what does the job makeup look like?
I mean, a lot of jobs are commuting out. Now we have a couple of businesses here, but and a lot of our kids don't even come just from our town. They come from other small towns around us. So we have probably, we have probably 4 or 5 small towns around us where our kids come from. So we have small businesses here, but if you want to break into something large, they're going further out than Garden City. So
is there anything, it's hard to keep up with it across the whole country, but like the school choice that's coming across, is there any funds in Missouri yet available?
Not yet. We've talked about it. They have talked about it. I know that we have a group of Christian schools that have really, they're going to Jefferson City. And it might be this month, it might be in November, to talk about it. And so our big concern is that if that happens, our goal would be that the government would give the parents money and then they would pay us, because we do not want the government involved in what we do, unfortunately, because then they tell us who we can hire, even though we are a organization that the government could come in and say, well, you're taking government money, and so you have to hire X number of people. And I'm not crazy about that. I'm not crazy about the government being involved in a lot of things.
Sure.
So
I understand. I know I've heard similar concerns from other schools across the country, depending on how the makeup of it is. I know here in Florida where we're at, I think it goes directly to the schools, but I know for us, like homeschool families, I know you pay for stuff and it gets reimbursed to you, and then you get, so I don't know if that's hopefully maybe they roll it out that way where the parents can pay it gets reimbursed.
The hope, right?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of all these, how many ways to skin a cat or type of thing, all these different ways to do it. We'll see what they end up doing. It is surprising that Missouri does not have that yet, though. I know they were working on I have a friend of mine she's deeply involved in that. So she sends emails, and I think they're going to Jefferson City this month to talk to representatives and things like that. Wow. For obviously you guys have been doing this a very, very long time. Is this something you guys even, it sounds crazy, like we market our school because it's like we're not making any money off of it, or do you guys just like let word of mouth work and you guys find students that way that come across you guys?
We do not do, we don't do a lot of advertising. People do call us the Garden City's best kept secret. We've been here for over 40 years, and there are people in our community that are like, I didn't know you were here. Wow. I didn't know we had a Christian school. But, the fact is that we want it to be what God wants. And so, I mean, we do, like, when there's enrollment time, we'll put out signs and say, we're enrolling, or put on social media, we're enrolling. But the best advertising is by word of mouth. Now we put, like, our kids are in the paper, we make sure that people out there know what's going on in our community. But it needs to be, we want that people want it, not that we're a school that's going to fix their kid if they're in trouble. We don't want to be the last resort. Sure. We want people to be passionate about Christian education that are sending their kids here. So,
and I don't blame you. You're like, oh, well, I guess we'll go to your school.
Right.
Like,
and that's it. And it's like, we've had judges send kids to our school, and it's like, we shouldn't be a punishment. Sometimes they feel like we are, but it's like, That's not the goal. The goal is, and the vision was when my dad founded the school, was for Christian kids to be able to go and get a Christian education, not we're going to fix your kid. Now that happens. We do get kids that come in and they get saved and they serve the Lord, but that's not the vision is not that we're here to fix everybody. We want a place where Christian kids can come and be safe and learn in that kind of environment. So
is the goal to continue to grow the school? I mean, like, and actually, is there enough room at the school to grow to a certain capacity before you'd have to actually like cut it?
We've discussed that, and our cutoff, what we try to do is we do a cap of 10 in a classroom, because we feel that once you get over 10, you're going to lose that one-on-one. So really, essentially, our capacity would probably be about 120 that we could take. That's probably right now what our building could facilitate as well. Okay. But we just don't want to lose the one-on-one, the traditional education either, because once you get so many in a classroom, it's very difficult for, teachers to be able to reach everybody. So.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. Now, I know there's people listening. They're like, probably, we got teachers, school leaders, all these people going, wait a second, as a teacher, I want to make more than I'm making now. I'm already not paid enough. And you have these people volunteering, what would your response be to a teacher who's already like, whoa, why are you doing that? We're trying to make more money as teachers, and now you're having people volunteer. How would you handle somebody's question?
Well, and I completely understand that. I completely understand people that, that are needing to feed their families. I totally understand that. And so what we say is that we have to be like, we have a lot of people in our organization that are supported by a spouse or someone else to be able to work there. So, I would love to be able to pay my staff, but the problem is that you kind of lose the passion too. It's a catch-22 because you don't want to lose the passion. I mean, they're there because they're passionate about these kids and that they want them to learn. Not that a paycheck minimizes the passion, but it also is one of those things where we have a little bit of leeway to more than other schools because we don't have to depend on having X number of kids to pay our staff. And so that makes it a lot easier to be able to make decisions accordingly. Like, I don't want to take 20 kids because I have to meet bills. Mm-hmm. I want to take 20 kids because they are passionate. And I don't want a teacher that's there because she has to pay bills, even though I understand that. I want a teacher that's there because they're passionate about Christian education. So, I mean, it would be great, but on the other hand, it's a double-edged sword a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with the part of like your culture could be ruined so quickly and this happens across schools so many times where you're so right, where they're like, we really need that $10,000 this year from that family. So let's take them there. It'll be all right. We'll make it work, and then it's like one person gets in there and it just messes up the vibe, the culture. Right. And then you're like, now you lose families maybe because of it, because it's ruined. It's like, what did you really sacrifice technically and do to let somebody out on the outside into the school? So
anytime people can hold you hostage for money is never good. It's never good.
Yeah, no, that's good. So let's say somebody's listening and they go, man, I would love to start something like this in my my city, my town, or something similar what you guys are doing. Any just kind of like advice on that for them if they were, you've been, obviously you grew up in this, but also now are helping to lead it here for 40 something years the school's been open. What are some things you're like, well, I would definitely don't do this, or I would do this instead?
Well, first of all, just do it. I mean, that's what we're just jump. That's what I would say. But you have to have like-minded people in the vision of it. That's what's important, because you understand that in any organization, everybody's going to have all of their ideas. And so what you have to do is you have to sit down and make a decision. What is it? What is the end goal here? Because you're going to have a mom that, really wants her kid to do X, Y, and Z. And you're going to have another mom that wants her kid, or another dad that wants his kid to do X, Y, and Z. And so it isn't going to be, and I'm just going to tell you, even after 40 years, we have bumps in the road all the time. And even, it's interesting that even in a volunteer organization, you have people that want to control, that they come in after 40 years and they're like, well, I don't think you need to do it this way. And we're like, we know what works and we know what doesn't. And so even though that may sound great to you and you may want that we've tried, trust me, we've tried everything. And so we know what works, we know what doesn't. And so it's a great idea. I know that I have some friends too that simply started just a homeschool co-op. They meet 2 or 3 times a week, and there are great programs out there now. I mean, more than, before, but now there are really great homeschool programs, and Rebecca has a great homeschool program, and you can meet together and get like-minded people and then grow into that if that's something that they want to do. But it's always possible, but you have to find people that are, number one, committed to God's vision, not their own. And that's the hard part is that sometimes as human beings, we know what we want as a vision, but what does God want as a vision? What's his vision? And so you have to get committed people and you're going to lose some people. And that's what's hard too, because not everybody's going to have that vision. And that's the heartbreak. With our kids, they see people come and go all the time. And it's like you get kids that are there like solely because somebody wants them not to go to public school. And so they're there, and it may work and it may not, but, you have to get in with like-minded people. First of all, you have to seek God. You have to seek God. What is his vision? Right. My father wrote it down. He was like, this is the vision of the training center. And if you're not on board with that, that's okay. We'll love you. You don't have to be a part of this organization. And we have people that, go to our church whose kids do not go to the training center, but they support the training center because they're like, we don't have football. So they want their kids to go to public school because we don't have football. And it's like, you have to keep the vision, no matter who's yelling at you or no matter who wants what they want. And it's doable, but you have to stick to the vision. That's what I would say. That would be my advice.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. So you have the name for the school's training center. Why training center? Why not school or academy or anything? Why that name?
Because when my mom and dad decided what we wanted to name it, they went after the scripture, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. And so we wanted to be the training center. Now, a lot of people thought at first that we were, a juvenile school for kids, like we were training, but they just wanted it just because that's the goal, is that we need to train our kids, not just in the word, not just with who God is, but to be able to go out and have a good education. Because, if you can teach a child to read, he can do anything. And if you can teach a child to do math, he can succeed. And so we want them to know God, and that's the goal. But the goal is to be a Christian kid who can go out and be successful in the world too.
Yeah. And make a difference and
Right.
be
Right.
a positive impact. And like, yeah. And I look at my kids and I'm like, man, well, I'll say specifically my 6-year-old, when you like watch him and he does something like, again, he is a good kid. Yes, I'm biased, of course. Everybody says
Right,
good,
of course,
you know, but he was like, he'll do something where he'll be just super sweet to a random kid or person, and you just look up and go, yes, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, like, yes.
Yeah.
It's the time when he isn't that, and you're like, dang it. So that is encouraging. Yes,
they're usually better to strangers anyways.
His favorite thing to play, and I've done this to myself because it's one of my favorite things to do, is just wrestle. I love to like so he goes, Dad, can we wrestle or can we fight, Dad? And like just tussle on the bed and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite things to play with him. And he's getting stronger. He's getting one day it'll happen. I'll lose, but I still got him for right now. Well, I love that. Well, let's do this for a wrap up of the episode for today. I usually ask everybody to share one final piece of advice, but I'll ask, obviously, if there's more than one, please share those. But all those listening, it could be specifically maybe if they wanted to start a school like you guys have, or just in general from an educator to educator, could be anything. But share some final 1, 2, 3 pieces of advice for the other school leaders that are listening, and we'll wrap it up.
Well, I have so much, but like I said before, what I would say is what God calls you to, he will provide for. So you can't be afraid. Number one, if you're going to do it, God will provide for it. And it may not look the way you think it's going to look. 2, we are in a spiritual battle for our kids. And part of what I see in our culture is a lot of parents who do not understand that the school that their kids are going to now is nothing like the school that they went to. I hear a lot of parents that would be like, oh, I live in a small town. So it's like, I went to this small school and it can't be as bad as they can't be talking about transgender things. They can't be. And I'm like, think again. You need to think again, because it's permeated everywhere. Now, I have friends that work in the public school system, great people. They're fantastic people. They love the kids. They're passionate, but their hands are tied a lot of times. And so parents need to be very aware of and I know it sounds ominous, that the world is after our children. They just are. And if we don't step up and do it, if we don't, and however that looks, making sure that your kids are going to church and having good Christian communities and keeping families together and things like that, we've got to do that. And that's, it's a big task, and it's really easy to have the government feed your kids, pick up your kids, take your kids home, pick them up, take them to sporting events, and I'm not dogging on the public education system, but what I'm telling you is that when we hand our kids over for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours to a system that isn't going to talk to them about Jesus, it's going to be detrimental if we're not doing it, if we don't get on board and do it. And so, I just, however it looks, get involved somehow, with even if you have a Christian school in your area, just visit them and say, hey, what'd you do? We didn't know anything. I mean, we were poor. We didn't know anything. And, we had, my parents had no education past high school. And it's like, you just do it. You do it because God calls you to it, and God will do it for you.
Amen.
So.
Man, one crazy stat I'll share real quick was, and most people have done this math before, but if you add up the hours on average that a kindergartner through 12th grade spends in school, it's around 16,000 hours in their lifetime for schooling. Then if you take the numbers and you add up how much time do parents actually spend with their children, it's less than that by a pretty long shot. So you're like, man, you go, well, they're only in school for this little bit amount of time. Can it be shaping my kid, whether good or bad? Let's just say good Christian school or non-Christian school.
Right.
But whatever that is, they are literally spending more time with your child than you are as a parent. who do you want to have that influence? Like, who is that person? What's that ideology that's being put in there every day? And then you add in all the extracurriculars and all that. And it's just like the time with mom and dad gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
And it's very staggering. And then you add in daycare between 0 and 5. Like, my goodness, it's staggering. And then they say you spend 95% of the time you spend with your kids is between the years of 0 and 18. And then after that, it's like you rarely see them when they're an adult on average. Like, well, shoot, we're barely seeing them now as it is. Like, what's crazy? Right. So yeah, it's a lot to think about. So everybody thinking about it, whatever your kids are at or wherever you're teaching, it's just, I'm not trying to, like Corrie said, I'm not trying to dog on either of them, but understanding, man, how many, like, I'm very visual. So I love seeing, like, wow, 16,000 hours between kindergarten and 12th grade. That's a lot. And so make sure you're making time for your family. Make sure you're making time for your kids and pouring into them and being intentional. This is where it really comes down to. Get off my soapbox in a second, but I agree. Is like the actual intentional time. I think that's the part that's really missing, unfortunately, in our culture right now. Is like, you could be in each other's presence, but if you're all on a screen, that's not intentional time. Right. And then if they're all on their own for doing bedtime routine without any help, or I don't know, there's no intentional time anymore. It's always, we're always distracted doing something else, and it makes me sad. So,
well, and I don't know if you've seen the interview with the man. He was a convicted child molester, and they asked him, how did you pick your victims? And he said 2 things. One of them was, if they had a father that I knew that I was afraid of, that I knew would not let me, then I would stay away from him. And if they had a community, if they were involved in a church and things like that. And it's like, I don't think parents know how important they are. I don't think parents know how important it is to have those conversations at the dinner table. You know, how'd your day go? What's going on with you? And I know everybody's busy, but it's like, you have to stay on top of it, because if you're not staying on top of it, somebody else is going to stay on top of it.
Yeah. And we always do it, and we do it to ourselves. I don't think anybody's making us be busy. My wife and I even just said this last week. We were like, I feel like right now we're a little overcommitted. Actually, like in this season we're in right now, it'll kind of reset after Christmas. But as we're recording this, I think this is probably going to go out in the new year, actually. But we're pretty like we both looked at each other like, and I think we're less than most people, but we kind of just did the same thing. We looked at each other and we're like, I think we're a little overcommitted right now, where it's a lot going on, and you're not around the dinner table. We're out, we're like eating in the car, like on the way to something. And we're like, I like being around the dinner table. So, yeah. But I know we talk about school, and now we're talking about family life. My goodness, all these things. It's all about school success. You know, it's good.
Right.
But let me finish up with this, Corrie. Obviously, I want to just say thank you for taking time out of your day to come in here and talk to myself and all of our listeners. And thank you for all the years, and your mom and dad as well, for pouring into education and to doing what you guys are doing in Missouri. I can truly say, obviously, you're a testament to this, of you guys are making a difference there in Missouri. So wishing you guys nothing but the best as you continue to educate more students and children in Missouri.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And thank you for your guys' passion too for Christian schools. I appreciate that.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to our guests for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love the people that I get to interview in this podcast. And as always, I'm hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, I do want to make sure you are aware of our 3 free resources available here at School Success. And the first one is, of course, the podcast that you're listening to right now. We are dropping weekly episodes every single Monday morning. We want to make sure you guys aren't missing out. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't left a 5-star review, we would love a 5-star review as well. The second one is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. In the top right-hand corner is a button, School Success Report. You just click that and sign up for that. We send it directly to your inbox every single week. It's full of different articles our team has either found or written to help you, the school leader, be more successful. And last but not least is our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. It's an awesome place. I'm personally in there. I'd love to see you in there as well. Get some good community around you, ask questions, and just have some fun. So make sure you are joining our free Facebook community. We'd love to see you in there. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.